Welcome to Geojit Spotlight. In today's video, Gaurang Shah, Head Investment Strategist at Geojit, joins us. We will explore the market outlook for 2025, key sector opportunities, global economic trends, and strategies for retail investors. Gaurang will share expert insights on mutual funds, direct equity, and long-term wealth building strategies to help you navigate the year ahead. Stay with us as we uncover predictions and actionable advice for 2025. Let's get started. Welcome, sir. So, what is your overall market outlook for 2025? Do you anticipate significant growth or volatility in the market?
Well, firstly, I think one needs to scale down the expectation for 2025, given primarily the headwinds on the earnings front. Point number one. Point number two, it will depend upon what are the policies that are being formed as far as the budget and the announcements are concerned. On earnings front, well, one can expect a little bit of improvement. At least that was the verbatim given by the management, different management post the second quarter earnings. So we can expect a little bit of improvement in third and fourth quarter. This financial year I'm talking about. Next financial year remains to be seen what are the policies and what is the impact of global and local events which are unfolding. In case if we have some more geopolitical uncertainty, then that will have its impact. But unfortunate part is we cannot predict that. We can only react to it as and when these events unfold. Otherwise, I think if the policies are supportive enough and the consumption theme is strong, then I think we should have a better time. But what we've seen in earlier years in terms of calendar year return, Jan to December, 2025 would be a year where I would possibly scale down my expectation on index, that is Sensex and Nifty. Stock specific, you may end up making a little bit more if you have the capability of identifying those opportunities.
Which sectors do you believe will drive the market performance in 2025, and what are the key factors behind their growth potential?
So there are a couple of sectors fundamentally that we are optimistic on. First one led by banking and finance, because if India has to become the next $1 trillion economy, if India has to become a large manufacturing hub, then you can't reach to these points unless and until you have a very strong financial backbone. And that will come from banks as well as strong NBFCs. Banks, when I say banks, both public as well as private sector banks, and strong NBFCs which are into diversified financial services, which are into housing finance, which are into small payment banks, small finance companies, etc., etc. Our sense is that other than banking and finance, power sector will also do well, because after so many years, almost 77 plus years of independence, we are still a power deficit country. Government has broadly lined up additional power generating capacities to fulfill that requirement of whatever deficit we have. And the point that I made earlier, that becoming the next $1 trillion economy and becoming a large manufacturing hub. So the second sector is power. Third, I believe cement will do well, because there is a lot of infrastructure creation activity happening from the government at the center and various state governments. Real estate sector is also doing well, so cement should do well. Capital goods engineering will be the fourth sector that we believe will do well, because of purely the kind of capex that we are expected to come through in the coming not only calendar year 25 but even beyond that. And the fifth one that I would possibly want, there are a lot of sectors that we are positive, but the fifth one would be FMCG, that is fast moving consumer good. That includes fast moving consumer goods as well as consumer durable and white good appliances sector.
And what do you think about defense sector?
Defense. Well, I wanted to say defense and I wanted to outline railway sector also, but defense is something that you need to have not just 1 year time frame. You need to have 3 to 5 year and beyond. The reason why I say this, that if you really want to create wealth from your investment, if you are focusing on defense, then your defense will give you very handsome returns over the next 3 years, 5 years and more. Example, why I say this? See, the defense sector is involved into supporting our armed forces, whether it is army, whether it is air force, whether it is navy, whether it is border security force, or whether it is coast guard. And up till now, we were dependent on imports. So I think about 4 years back or something like that, the government formed a policy, FDI in defense, Make in India, Made in India. The Ministry of Defense has already come out with, if I'm not mistaken, 3 prohibited list, which list number of equipments that we used to import earlier. Now they have been already a kickstart in Make in India. And further, as we progress, more orders will come through, not only from the Ministry of Defense, but we have also read reports about how strongly capable our defense related companies are to export to the rest of the world. So, and these are all complex, high technology, precise products. You need to make a prototype. That prototype gets approved by various authorities, including the Ministry of Defense. And once they get the go-ahead approval, the mass scale production starts. All this will take a little bit more time. Hence, the time horizon has to be 3 to 5 years and more.
How do you think global economic trends such as inflation, interest rate changes, and geopolitical tensions will influence the Indian market in 2025?
So geopolitical, like I said, it is very difficult to predict. You can't really say that, okay, in the next 24 hours or in the next 1 week, XYZ company is going to do an aggression on ABC country. So that we'll just react to it, like we reacted to Russia, Ukraine, like we reacted to Israel, Hamas,
Recently, Syria.
and Syria. So that is an event which will react as and when it happens. As far as inflation is concerned, well, I think we are relatively in a better place compared to the emerging markets or developed markets. So, and of course, the biggest driving force for India is the population of India. And that's where the consumption will come from. So if you are able to take care of that, then I think external shocks in form of inflation in a particular country, maybe a knee-jerk reaction could happen. I mean, markets always have a knee-jerk reaction, but it won't be a sustained, prolonged negative impact on Indian equity markets. Interest rates, there is a lot of thought process that if a central bank chief in a particular country has cut interest rates, we should ape or replicate that. I think that's not the right way to think. They have their own set of problems. They have got their own set of mathematical approach, and we have our own set of. So we are totally different. So as in when for India, the biggest problem is inflation. The recent number was a howler. The second number is the GDP growth rate. That was also 1.20%, if I'm not mistaken, below than the general street estimates. Once your inflation comes down to 4.5 and closer to 4, I think the RBI and the Monetary Policy Committee will have enough elbow room to take initiative. But it won't happen before the next calendar quarter, that is Jan-Feb March 2025.
And do you think Trump is a big threat?
See, there are, again, in politics, whichever part there are election in whichever country, political leaders say a lot of things before the elections are done. Once the elections are done, and if they happen to win that particular chair, whether you are a prime minister or president, very conveniently, a lot of political leaders forget what they have said during the campaigning period. So let him take the office, the Oval Office, and he has said a lot of things. But I think he will also pay attention to the thing that he said that, cut tax and increase tariffs.
India is a king of tariff.
Yeah, so that will lead to inflation. So the calculation that Mr. Powell has done, the Fed chief, will go out of the window. And then you'll have to rethink whether you want to implement those policies or not. And to overnight take such a strong stand or make such policies, which will be incrementally negatively impacted on your economy, and then to repair it will take a prolonged time. So I think we'll have to just wait and watch what Mr. Trump does as and when he assumes the Oval Office, and then take it accordingly.
What investment strategies would you recommend for retail investors in 2025, especially for those with moderate risk appetite?
So there is no moderate risk appetite. Let me tell you this. In stock market, like if you want high return, you have to accept high risk. If you want low return, you will get low risk. Then you be happy with what you get in your bank FD. At the end of the year, you will not get anything if you take inflation and tax into picture. And equity asset class has been proven the best asset class in terms of wealth creation. This I'm not saying, this AMFI is saying it. So if you are a retail investor and if you want to come into the equity market, either you want to come directly or you want to use the mutual fund SIP or lump sum route, be prepared to take high risk. If you don't want to have high risk, then you should introspect whether you want to come to the equity market. My advice to retail investor is avoid the external noise that you hear. More importantly, avoid the unauthenticated advices given on social media, like the Google and the WhatsApp and the X and the Y of the world. Understand before making an investment as to where you are investing. Just because your friend, your relative, or your acquaintance is telling you to invest, please don't go and invest. Ask questions before investing. Don't ask questions after investing. If you are able to understand your investments into equity market, direct equity I'm talking about, investing into direct equity market, then you can do that. And if you don't have the time to give that understanding of what you are doing, then please, there is a very wonderful product that is available in form of SIPs or lump sum investment via mutual funds. So the choice is yours. The risk profiling is your dharma when you start investing into it. So please do that and then come to the equity market.
For 2025, would you advise investors to focus more on mutual funds or direct equity investments, and why?
So again, I will say, see, mutual fund has been incrementally wealth creating from 5-year, 10-year plus kind of perspective. SIPs is a very wonderful product. Compounding is the 8th wonder of the world. And I would say that instead of timing the market, give time to the market. A lot of investors, if you buy a stock today, they immediately put it on your, portfolio flash, and they start tracking it. I don't think that's the way you should do investment. When you put an FD in a bank, you don't look at it unless the 1 year is over, right? So when it comes to equity market investing, why is it that every 24 hours or 12 hours you want to go and look where you invested and what the price of the stock is? It is unnecessary, increasing your blood pressure and putting you to a very uncomfortable situation. So I would say that, again, I would repeat it. If you have the ability to understand, come directly, wonderful, nothing like it. If you don't, take the help of the fund manager and go through mutual fund, either lump sum or so.
What steps should investors take now to position themselves for a long-term wealth creation over the next 5 to 10 years, considering market uncertainties?
So earlier, the equation for savings was income minus investments is equal to savings, and that savings you turn into investments. So income minus expenditure is equal to savings, and that savings you turn into investment. This was good maybe 15 years back, 20 years back. With the inflation rate and the kind of life that one wants to live, the aspiration that one has, I think this formula needs to be tweaked a little bit. So for me, for example, income minus investments is equal to expenditure. So when you do this latter, automatically your expenses will come down. Because as soon as you get your salary, large part you get invested. Whatever balance is there, you have to manage that, your budget or expense budget. So my thing is, please do the second thing, and please spread that word around also. And don't look at short-term volatility in the market and stop your investments directly or via SIPs. Markets are going to be volatile. Going up and down are the two phases of the market, but that should not deter long-term investors.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.